Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. I'm Bob Gibbons.
And I'm your host, Stephen Nooner.
Oh, you're a host today.
I am today.
That'd be nice.
I really liked how you enunciated propel. That's really nice of you too. I'm excited to introduce our next leveler for today. Amy Clary, President and CEO of KeyStaff, is here with us. KeyStaff is a full-service staffing company that specializes in temporary, temp-to-perm, and direct placements. If you'd like to learn more about Amy or KeyStaff, please visit keystaffinc.com. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We are glad you're here. We always like to start off the show with wisdom of others, we call it. And we really liked the quote you gave us, so we're just going to go with yours today from Walt Disney.
That's right.
Walt Disney. Who is that? Let's not even go there. All right. So Walt Disney said, either you see opportunity or you see stop signs. And I don't have time for stop signs. And are you not a stop sign kind of girl?
I'm not. I absolutely love that quote. And the reason is, my husband and I talk about this all the time, but the reason I love that quote is because if Walt Disney came to me and said, hey, Amy, I've got this idea. My friend draws this mouse, which we call Mortimer Mouse. That's what they called him at first.
Yeah.
And I want to build an empire with this mouse drawing that I have. And this mouse, by the way, has a friend who's a duck. And you can't really understand the duck. I mean, who can understand him, right? And he also has a dog. Right. Yeah. He also has a dog. And then he also has another friend that you don't really know if it's a dog or what, but it talks, but the other dog doesn't talk, right? But I've got all these friends, and I'm going to build this worldwide empire, and everybody's going to know about Disney and about this mouse. You would say...
He was insane.
Yeah, I would too, And what does he say? And now everybody knows Disney. Everyone knows Disneyland, Disney World. And he said, I see opportunities or stop signs, and I don't have time for stop signs. Imagine how many stop signs he had in his journey.
That's cool. I like that.
Very cool. Yeah, and I collect quotes. I had never seen that one before. It's now on the list.
Oh, good. Disney has a lot of great quotes.
Yeah. So speaking of unusual paths and things happening, just share with us, if you wouldn't mind, how you got in your business, because I thought that was a really interesting story.
Well, yeah, I started working for a competitor. Actually, my business partner and I wanted to start a creperie. I lived in France for a few years.
A creperie?
Creperie, making crepes.
Mm-hmm. Like a restaurant?
A restaurant, yeah.
Wow.
Now you get the interesting. Okay.
Now, you know what's funny about that is I was just in Breckenridge, Colorado the other day, and there was this creperie on the street.
Uh-huh.
And it had a line that was insane, and it stayed that way the whole day.
That's how we would have been, I'm sure.
Maybe you didn't make the right call.
And they were probably thinking of starting a staffing company before, but they decided off.
Probably.
Yeah, sadly, our fates twisted.
So how did that happen?
But we went to go and look at spaces and look into all the details, and it was going to be a huge investment, like $1 million. And I just moved back from France, and I was young, in my early 20s, and who has $1 million? So I had to take a job, like we all do, right? Mm-hmm. And I took a job at a staffing agency, and I was really good at it. And I just assumed everybody was good at staffing, but I found that not everybody is good at staffing. So most are not. And I became really good at it, and I was top producer nationwide out of 125 offices, worked there for about 3.5 years, and said, you know what? That whole idea we had about starting a business, let's do that, but let's do this one instead because there's a lot less overhead involved. And so my partner and I decided to do it. We rolled it out.
Wow. So what makes one good at staffing?
I think you really have to genuinely like people. And even more than that, you have to have amazing communication. So you have to be able, and you have to have a great memory, because you have to be able to say, hey, I interviewed this guy 3 weeks ago and he would be perfect for your position. And so you have to really have this database in your head and be able to access it very quickly. I don't think that there's any software duplicate that can replicate having a great memory, you know?
And just out of curiosity, there are about 1,000 different types of staffing companies. What do you guys specialize in?
We primarily focus on white collar and blue collar. So it's going to be mostly administrative, call center, customer service, even into accounting. And then we do light industrial. We're getting away from heavy industrial. We've done a lot of machining in the past, but we're doing more. We're really wanting to focus on light industrial, like cable makers or, people assembling boxes, easier stuff like that. So just it's about a 50-50 split. We have about 600 temporaries that go to work every day.
So how long did you work for the
KeyStaff.
other company before you started your own?
3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I learned a lot. That's all I have to say. I think that it was a really amazing growing experience for me. And I can't say a bad thing about them because they taught me everything.
And was your partner in the same business?
No, he is a master of electrical engineering, and he worked for a large manufacturing company in Austin. And and so he actually, as far as partnerships goes, we didn't know this going into it, but he really completes the skills that I bring to the table, which is the sales, marketing side, the communication, and he loves spreadsheets and looking at numbers. And I actually have no idea about any of the numbers. I don't even know how much money we have in the bank because he handles all that and I handle all the front end.
Wow.
So
It's interesting.
I feel lucky.
So in regards to your space right now, I mean, you're kind of in an interesting niche. I mean, Dallas, especially, the market is, I mean, it's pretty hot. How do you handle the changing that is happening with employment? I mean, it seems like the positions you're trying to staff are maybe a little bit tougher.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely say that the market is, as far as the sales side, it's ripe for the picking, right? Everybody's hiring. I think it's funny because I'm keen on looking for now hiring signs. They're everywhere right now.
Right.
So that's the plus side. But the minus side is that the people are hard to come by. Most people, you really want to hire these days in the employed marketplace, which means you kind of got to have to lure people over to your job.
Right.
Because if you don't, you get what's kind of left on the market. And right now we're at what we consider full employment, which means everybody who wants a job has a job.
Right.
And if you have, pretty much you can get a job in this market.
Right.
So one of the things we're seeing that is creating is higher wages, which is great for the people working. Businesses might disagree because they want to keep labor costs down, obviously. But it is definitely pushing whereas a few years ago you could pay $10 an hour for an employee to get just a general person to help you in the warehouse or to do general admin work, you really need to look at paying like 14 to 16 these days.
So what do you tell, because we represent maybe some people you even need to meet, but some of our clients, they're competing against China. They're competing, like in some of their spaces.
Sure.
And so there isn't necessarily a whole lot of margin for a hot, no employment, difficult to find quality people. And we're seeing a lot more technology being purchased, more machine, to try to compensate in the higher skilled stuff. What do you tell people when they're facing that?
Well, as far as like things getting outsourced and lower wage jobs getting outsourced, we're always going to manufacture in the U.S.
Sure.
There's a big drive to pull back manufacturing to the U.S.
Sure.
Because there is a lot of control that is lost when you don't manufacture your own products. So I definitely think that, people are going to have to pay the wages that they need to, but products are going to get more expensive. And at the end of the day, consumers are going to end up paying more, and people are going to have to make choices on what they spend their money on.
So essentially, just prices are going to have to go up to adjust for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Got to go somewhere. I guess the second thing is, do you see this as just like going to be the continued trend in what you're seeing, or do you think this is a spike because all the people haven't moved here yet? And so we're in this spot, and it'll loosen up. And the reason why I asked that is because the answer to raising wages sometimes, as soon as you have a downturn in the economy or something happens, there's a whole lot of people that get let go.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, you have to, it's supply and demand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we are in a hot spot. I mean, the DFW area is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, just drive down Headquarters Row or drive through, what do they call it, the $1 Billion Mile or wherever the Cowboys training
It's
area is
unbelievable.
going. I mean, I have young kids, of course, and so they look out the window and they point to all these cranes, and then I count them all, and I'm like, 14 cranes, that's a lot of growth, right? And we
Sure.
have a bunch of big companies that have announced they're moving here. We have a lot that have already broken ground. So they are moving a bunch of employees, but they'll also be bringing jobs. And so both on the higher end and the lower end, it's exciting. It's an exciting place to be. But
Yeah.
again, I wouldn't want to be doing staffing anywhere else but Texas.
Yeah,
That's
it's
for
a great
sure.
place.
So do you see that in your business that there's a ton of different staffing companies and different kinds of staffing company? Do you see any kind of trend going on with consolidation or, not consolidating? Where do you see that happening right now?
There is a push for something called a VMS. It's a vendor management system, and a lot of large companies are rolling that out. Admittedly, I'm not a huge fan because I'm a smaller company. And what a VMS does is it basically, they go to a company, a very large company, and they say, hey, look, we're going to manage all of your vendors. And we're going to have them all come in at this markup rate. And we're going to have them all follow these processes, which sounds great. Of course, to the higher ups, they're like, oh, you're going to take this on for me? This is amazing. I don't have to manage all these relationships, and you're going to lower my costs. But at the end of the day, that I don't know that it actually is as beneficial as they think, because those companies who are using vendor management systems those jobs get pushed to the bottom because they're not making as much. So my option is, would I rather fill a job that's going to pay me a 50% markup, or would I rather fill one that's going to pay me 38%? Well, I think we all know the answer.
That's the challenge that I see with vendor management, and I've seen this. We had a client that since sold, but they did nurse travel staffing specifically to that, and they all the hospitals went to vendor management, and there was no metric or margin for quality. It was like a cattle. They were just running them through the cattle guard. It was crazy.
Yes.
So they ultimately, it's not that they didn't ever work those jobs, but they really just went out to smaller hospitals and started developing relationships to where they could provide better candidates and get rewarded for that work.
And you lose quality when you're squeezing every penny. You lose quality. That's for sure.
So we only have about a minute left, but what's one of the bigger risks you're seeing in the industry overall?
Well, one of the reasons we're getting out of heavier industrials, we keep having injuries. And I think when you're employing this many people and and you're at full employment, then you get people who aren't as qualified for working the jobs. And you're trying to pay lower wages to get people who maybe don't have as much experience. And so that is a risk. Workers' comp is very expensive, as we know.
Yeah, and I imagine you have all kinds of other issues with Obamacare and other kinds of regulation that's really a problem as well.
Yes, we have a lot of issues. Every year something rolls down, like E-Verify, Obamacare. Of course, Obamacare was the first time we ever had to raise rates because they rolled it down last second to staffing agencies and said, okay, now you have to pay major medical on all of your temporaries.
Okay, well, we're gonna take a break, but when we come back, we're gonna talk about what do you do if you and your partner aren't always in sync with each other, and what do you do?
Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand, and landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
Hello, I'm Curtis Height, CEO of Improving. Our slogan is Improving, it's what we do. I wish it's what Bob and Steve did.
Welcome back to the next level. Conversations that propel business for Stephen. So critical.
On me, Bob?
We're here with our guest, Amy Clary, President and CEO of KeyStaff, Inc. And if you'd like to know more about KeyStaff, please go to keystaffinc.com.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm getting out of the spit that Bob
Propelled.
propelled all over
Showered.
me here. I think we should get right into it just because Bob just laid up such a wonderful hook.
That was a beautiful hook.
I know
before
everyone's
the,
been just
before the break.
just dying to get through those commercials to hear. So let's talk biggest breakdown turned breakthrough for you.
I think that one of the things that we have have had challenges with, honestly, is just communication. I've had a business.
This is your partner?
With my partner, yeah. Sorry, I've had a business partner for, well, we've been friends for 16 or 17 years, maybe 18, but we've owned KeyStaff together from the very beginning. And of course, you don't always see eye to eye. So we have had a few knockdown dragouts, and you know, it's very interesting to have that dynamic of a business partnership because you want to get along, but you have two totally different ways of seeing things. And one of the things I like to say, it's kind of like when you're in a restaurant. I used to work at a restaurant in Austin, and in the front of the house and the back of the house, the way they communicate, I would run up to them and I'd say, I need a queso on the fly. And they would say, well, you need a ticket. And there'd be like a line of people. But the cooks knew that if they gave me a queso, they could get fired because it wouldn't ring up and we wouldn't get paid for it. But I knew that the food was coming out and I had forgotten to ring that queso. So I feel like there's always that communication breakdown between partners, like, hey, I need this now. And he's looking at the numbers end of it going, well, hey, I need to do this first, you know. So
Now, you guys are not in the same city either.
praise the Lord.
That's a good thing.
We've definitely learned that we get along much better when we work in two different cities. Yes.
So how did you guys come to that conclusion? I mean, that's interesting to have two business partners in different cities.
Yes.
And happy about it.
Yeah. I think he's equally happy about it. Well, we started our business in Austin, and we have a building down there, and we have offices right next to each other. And then I moved to San Antonio to start that office. And then I moved to Houston to start that office. And then now I've landed here in Dallas. And I don't plan to move back, which my friends in Austin are very sad about. But I
Except for your
love
partner.
it up here. Yeah. I love it up here. I always say it's like Plano is like living in Disneyland. Everything's clean and everyone's nice, you know? So, but we love it. And, you know, we did come to that conclusion because I was away opening offices and our communication got much better. We had to really get direct with each other and to the point, and what do we need to accomplish here? And we're both busy. And instead of scheduling time to see face to face, we were really, you know, now we're scheduling things like over the phone. And so let's just hammer it out. And let's make this happen and move forward.
So if you were able to go back and change one thing about your business, what would that be?
To change something, I don't know. At this point, our biggest disappointment to me has been that we had such a thriving branch in Houston, and so we added an additional branch in Houston because the city is so big. It was hard to get people to come and register at our office in the Galleria area and then work in the Woodlands. So we opened an office up there, and we just had a lot of challenges in the Houston market. And of course, with oil and gas going down, we decided that we should close one branch. So it's very costly to open a branch, and it's very, very costly to close a branch.
Yes.
So
And probably hard. So, I mean, psychologically, you've gone through, you've made the investment. I mean, for me, I know it's like you want to hang on and keep investing.
Yes.
And it's going to pull through.
Emotionally, it is. I mean, it's definitely a low blow emotionally because you feel like, hey, everything I've touched has done so well. And then when it doesn't, and you're kind of on an upswing and you have to make those hard decisions. And we have all of that furniture in storage right now. And every month I pay that storage.
Just sell it.
Actually, my partner does. And every month I go, oh my gosh, But I mean, it's everything for a full office setup, including a refrigerator and a coffee maker. And, it's hard to sell not only the cubicles, but all the computers and the copier and everything. So
Used furniture isn't worth a whole lot.
that's true.
So I'm curious about that. So that had to have been kind of a blow to your confidence.
Ego.
Yeah. I mean, so where do you look at, to like, do you just pivot? Is there something else that you're focused on now, or?
Well, we have eyes to Fort Worth, to be honest with you. So, I mean, we've got a couple of good clients in Fort Worth, and I haven't met a single person who lives in Fort Worth who doesn't like it. Everyone raves about how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
So
I used to live there a couple of times. I got married there, in fact.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Love Fort Worth.
yeah, and the clients we have been fantastic and great communicators. So I don't know. We might be moving all of that furniture to Fort Worth. I don't want to.
Cool.
Fingers crossed.
So something I hear often about Fort Worth, for whatever it's worth, is that you have to have an office there.
Yes.
And that you have to have someone local on your team.
They Fort Worth's very family. Like, you got to feel like family to get ahead there. That's what I've heard too.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, let's take a little different tack here. So tell us something about your business in the last few years, or about your personal life, either one, that's been a high, something really cool or interesting that's happened to you.
Well, personally, you might have seen I've been all over the news for our adoption. We got the opportunity to be on CNN, ABC, Good Morning America. We adopted a little guy from China who we've named Dawson, but we call him Dada. That was his name in China. And we figured that he had enough changes coming, so we continue to call him by that name. And today's his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
Except this will air in a few weeks, so sorry.
Happy birthday again, belated.
But he's absolutely precious, and we've gotten to spread the word about adoption and just people who are considering adoption, and really lifting that up and being a mouthpiece for adoption and spreading that around the world. And the story went viral. A lot of people probably saw the video online. It was a 17-second video that was a reunion at the airport of Dawson and his little friend Hannah from the orphanage, and it went viral. And even Ashton Kutcher shared it on his Facebook page the other day, which was pretty exciting, and it's still going. People are still talking about it. And then Reuters Asia reached out to us about running it in China, and I couldn't help but get giddy to think that maybe Dada's biological family might see it and know that he's in a good place, so it is exciting.
That's awesome. So out of curiosity, was adoption already on your heart? Because I saw the video, and you saw a Facebook post from a friend of yours from church that I guess had adopted, and they were looking. But was it already on your heart, or just like, hey?
No, absolutely not. I'm pretty religious, and I think God just wrote it into our story. At the time, we had a 4-month-old, I believe a 1-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And now we have a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and today 2 4-year-olds. So we definitely weren't looking because we have a full house.
Sure.
But I think it's almost an obligation that people should have, that if you have room in your home and in your heart to take on an orphan, you should. It has definitely been more rewarding for me than it has been for Dada, I'm
Did
sure.
people not absolutely think you were insane?
Yes.
I'm sorry to bring that up, but, my parents were missionaries in Brazil, and my mom had a few miscarriages. And so while they were back on vacation in the U.S., they had adopted my brother, and they didn't know it, but they also conceived me. So my brother and I are only 2 days shy of being 9 months apart exactly.
Yeah.
And
Irish twins.
Yeah, they didn't plan that, but you planned this. You did this on purpose.
Well, you know, and when you read the backstory, and I'm happy to share it online or wherever, but when you read the backstory, there was a lot going on with us. We had some friends come up from Austin, and they had 2 fosters, and they were twins, and the little boy, the little girl had 4 cracked ribs. The little boy had 8 cracked ribs, a broken femur, and brain damage.
Oh, my God.
And I shook my fist at heaven, and I couldn't believe it. I said, how is this happening? It's just heartbreaking. It's killing me. And I was in my car and riding along, listening to Matthew West song, and it says basically the same thing. The lyrics say something like, I see people living in poverty and children sold into slavery, and I shook my fist at heaven, and the knife that was already in my heart just twisted. And it said, and I shook my fist at heaven, and I said, God, why don't you do something? And there I was in the car, shaking my fist with Matthew West. And no lie, the next line of the song is, he said, I did. I created you.
Ooh, ouch.
And it really resonated with me. And another amazing quote is, it's better to light a candle in the darkness. I mean, it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. And I've realized that through this adoption, it's totally true. It's better to be a light than to sit there and complain about the problems.
So what's next? If we're sitting together 3 years from now, what do you see happening?
Well, a lot of great things. I mean, KeyStaff, we're hoping takes off in Fort Worth and in this market. We hope to continue to grow. We have had 12 years of continuous growth, and the market's ripe for the picking, like I said. So we're really excited about KeyStaff. We're really excited. I'm actually writing a book called 25 Divine Adoptions, God-inspired adoptions. And
is that because you have 24 more coming? Or?
I'm compiling a
that.
book, so if anybody wants to contribute a story about how they were led to adopt.
Just want to be clear.
Yes,
Your husband's probably
yes.
going to be listening.
Bob, you haven't got the memo yet. You and Jan.
We need a much bigger house, and we need a lot more temps to go to work for us to
Her
be able to
GoFundMe
afford
page
that.
is.
Yeah. No, and so we're compiling this book with these stories and hoping to raise awareness and funds for other adoptive families to hopefully move forward with adoptions.
Cool. All right. So, so somebody wants. Let's pretend like somebody wants to open up a staffing company. What advice are you going to give them? 2 or 3 things.
Don't do it. I don't need a competitor. Just kidding. It is a lot of work. You have to have a lot of capital up front. We didn't realize that. Another big challenge is that we put all of our eggs in that staffing basket. And it's very expensive because you're running all this payroll before you're collecting from clients. So, but I definitely say that, you got to love people. You got to have a good partner, someone who you can communicate with, definitely. And just be open to what challenges are going to be ahead, and be willing to take those challenges on.
Well, thank you so much for being our guest today. We really have enjoyed
Thank you.
it.
Translation, open a creperie.
Creperie, yes.
Thank you for coming. If you guys know someone needs to hear this message, please help spread the word. You can learn more about Amy at keystaffinc.com, nextlevelshow.com for the radio show. Have a great week.
See you next week.
Thanks.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.